Everybody, welcome back to Chemical Man Podcast. Today I want to talk about some batch process stuff. A lot of people work in the batch process. A lot of people don't know what it is. Some people brand new. I'm gonna give you a little gist of it. Every batch process is kind of different. A lot of it's about the same stuff, So what I've been familiar with, two different wiles. I've been familiar with one where it's a basic tank. You put your usually it's 50-pound sacks. Sometimes it could be 880-pound super sacks. You're going to stick it in a tank. You're going to have material come from the unit. Sometimes it could be DI water mixed with it. Sometimes it could be any other kind. It could be anything really. You're going to stick it in there. You fill your level up so far. You have the agitators in there. They'll spin and mix up. So you'll be putting your material in there. You'll be putting your whatever your powder is in there. You'll mix it up with your agitators, and then you'll also circulate the tank too, and that'll be a product for a batch process for whatever unit they need it for, whatever they need it for it too. Sometimes you could even do that, put it in a drum, or put it in a rail car, a tanker truck, and load it out, and then make another batch process on there. The other one we have here is one that I'm used to very well. So we have what's called a slurry pot here, and then you have the tank. Okay, so your slurry pot here is where you put your powder. So you've got a lid. You're gonna open it up. You're gonna put your powder in this slurry pot, and all the ones I've ever had is so what you do is this is where your powder goes. This is where your liquid goes. So once you get your powder in here, at the bottom of it's got a sparger ring on there. So as it pulls material off here, it goes into that slurry pot, and at the bottom it's got like a sparger ring, and then it's going to shoot material. It's going to shoot the liquid up in there, and as the liquid goes up in there, it's going to mix with that powder, and then it's got an overflow that goes from the slurry pot to the tank. And as you mix that in there, it's going to fill up, and as it fills up, the liquid's going to overflow, and then it's going to constantly do that and circulate for however many hours you need, sometimes 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever, depending on what you make on there, right? And then after so many circulation time, whatever you need, then a lot of the ones I have, you can open up the bottom of your slurry tank, and then you can drain everything into your main tank, and then from there it'll circulate to the slurry pot, out the slurry pot, and back in the tank. Once all your powder's been mixed up, and you know how long it needs to do. A lot of things, you're gonna have procedures on there. It's gonna tell you how much to add. It's gonna tell you how much liquid to add. It's gonna tell you how long to circulate for. It's gonna have all that figured, and there might be even times in there that you want to make a half batch. You should have a calculation in there. Instead of adding 4 drums, you're going to add 2.5 drums, and you're going to add so much liquid in there to get a half batch. It's going to have all those calculations should be in there. If not, you can always ask somebody. Things to have when you're out there: number one, your procedure. Make sure you have the right material. I know people that have put powder in these slurry pots and mixed it up, and it's been the wrong material. And next thing you know, all our samples are out of spec, and we have to keep adding more to bring the sample up. To bring it in spec on there. So you always want to make sure that whatever says on your procedure is the right material that says on, if it's sacks, if it's drums, if it's super sacks, whatever it is, make sure it's the right material you put in there. Forklift is good to have if you're in an area to help lift stuff up, depending on, like, our slurry pots aren't real low to the ground, so they're up high, so you have to get a forklift and then dump the material in there. We have 880-pound super sacks. We have 150-pound drums. We have 50-pound drums. We have all types of different, and it's all manual. I mean, at least where I'm at. And I know a lot of batch processes, they've come up and they're not as much as manual as they used to be. So it makes it easier to dump them in the hoppers and all that stuff like that. Make sure you have the right PPE. Make sure you right, because whatever you put in there, you might need a mask. You might need with cartridges on there, because you don't want to be breathing that stuff in on there. Might need a Tyvek suit because of what you're in there too. Make sure you always got a helper too. It's a good thing. I know some of the stuff we use, we have to purge a slurry pot with nitrogen and then clear it out. And then we have this little special black paint that we paint on the bottom down there. And then make sure we're grounded so we don't have any static electricity. If you deal with somewhere like a lot of static electricity, make sure that your drums are grounded. Make sure you're grounded. They make these little things that go on your boot, and then you can it helps. You can tie it in to the ground cable, and it makes you grounded, so you don't have to worry about any kind of static electricity. I've seen some bad stuff happen where people would put super sacks in there, and the static electricity have come up and cause a fire, and it's not good. It's not good at all on there. But make sure you have that. Make sure you have helper. But real self-explanatory right here. So like I said, you have slurry pot. You're going to put your powder in here. This is for us, right? You're going to put your powder in here. Then you're going to close your lid. You're going to make sure your bottom valve's closed down here, right? You're going to ask your unit, wherever it's from, you're going to fill up this tank to a certain amount of liquid. Once it gets to a liquid, you clear it, you're done, right? Then when you have your pump, make sure and you also, on the circulation loop, goes out to unit. So these are all basic. Everybody's different. Everybody's chemical plant's different. These are the ones that I've worked in before. So when you want to make sure that your valve is blocked in going to the unit, you want to come off the bottom, go back up to your slurry pot. It's going to go to your ring. It's going to fill up and then overflow the tank. And you're going to circulate like that forever, how long you need to circulate. Once the time's up, 4 or 5 hours, whatever it is, you can open up the bottom here. You can drain everything in there, and then you can circulate the whole tank that way too. And then it's going to help for there. And then when you need stuff to the material, to the unit, you're gonna open your valve, send it that way. Same thing with this one over here. You got a little guy up here. So this one, we do 50-pound sacks, and then we've done super sacks. You're gonna as you fill your level up to a certain level in your tank, then you're gonna drop your super sack in there, and then this is gonna mix, and it's gonna circulate at the same time on there. And then you also want to make sure your valve going to unit's closed, because you don't want any powder to get stuck in that line going to the unit before it hasn't had a mix time. That is not fun. It is not fun when that happens. You have to pull all your inhibitors out, clear the lines, and that is not a fun job. So that's when make sure that you're up there. Make sure you're not close to the edge. Put your material in, let it circulate for a long time, and then go from there. I know every batch process is different out there. Everybody does different things. Some of them they'll make something, one material in something like this. They'll flush it out, they'll clean it up, they'll prepare it for the next one. It might be something different, and so forth and so forth. So they might use the same tanks and slurry pots, but make different materials in there. So you always want to make sure it's clean before you make the next product on there. Same thing with these big tanks. And if they're going to make several different things in there, you want to make sure it's all clean out there before you put your new material in there. You don't want to have anything mixing in there, because it wouldn't be good for the samples down the line. But this is just kind of overview of some batch process here. And always be careful, always be safe. Remember, if you're doing 50-pound drums all day, you're gonna be a beast. But don't overdo it. Get your help. The last thing you need is have a hernia for doing something stupid and trying to lift too many drums or too many super sacks at one time. Anyway, everybody be safe. Everybody have a good day. Shoot me an email if you want your resume looked at. I'll be more than happy to do that. If you had any questions, comments, leave them below. And until the next time, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.